Lo and behold, Christmas has come early this year, at least for me anyway. Hey everybody, welcome to another BrainScratch commentary sessions. And yeah, it's time for my it wouldn't even be accurate to say biannual, just annual contribution to the channel itself, because I'm bringing you a playthrough, a commentary of Onimusha, the first game. This is the 2001 release, but not just Onimusha, we're playing Genma Onimusha. This was the Xbox re-release a year later that had extra content. It was also made considerably more difficult with the ad mechanics that we'll slowly get into as we play along. But yeah, I was talking to the guys behind the scenes about this, and I thought I was the only one that actually played this game, but Lewis is apparently also
Yes,
played the game.
I've played the PS2 version specifically. I do own Genma. It's over there in my pile, but I haven't actually played the Xbox version yet. I also own the HD version, which is not a bad way to play the game.
No, it is not. It does not have the Genma extras though, which is the only thing that I find really confusing about it.
John, why didn't you tell me this? Didn't you tell me this game has maggots in it? Now I don't want to play it.
Are you squeamish with maggots?
No,
specifically?
most bugs don't bother me. Maggots, however, do.
Oh yeah, whenever maggots are present, the smell is something special.
It's not even the smell. It's just the idea of. So I mean, we're pretty sure we all had that experience where you're taking the trash out, or at least the trash is already outside, and you got to take it a little further out so that the trash collection actually takes it. And you get maggots on the bag, and it's not a matter of the smell. It's like, man, I really hope I don't touch this because I got to grab the bag, and there might be maggots underneath the lip.
So the thing for me is, I once had to take out the trash, and we have like a little thing that we put it in, like a plastic, like almost dumpster type looking thing that we put it in. And I was opening it up one time, and there were maggots underneath it. So when I opened it up, they were swarming all around them, and then some got in my hand. It was,
I'm sorry,
no,
I
thanks.
just can't get over Samanosuke's Muppet mouth.
There's a lot of shit going on there, right? That's right. We need to save Japan.
Okay, so getting into on-screen stuff, Onimusha has a weird sort of historical context to the plot that is probably the
I was like emphasis on weird.
probably like makes more sense to the Japanese who grow up learning about this stuff in school, but like Nobunaga, apparently the thing where he got shot on the battlefield, I think that's a real thing. And I know that there's
or at
like,
least a legend, I believe.
Yeah, and then there's also a legend that he was that demons got involved at some point. I don't know.
He's basically the go-to evil feudal lord.
Yeah,
For like all media.
It's funny though, because again, it's more in lieu with a Japanese history, which I didn't learn much of. Well, at least I don't remember much of growing up in like middle or high school. I want to say Onimusha was my first sort of association with Nobunaga Oda. So every time I think of Nobunaga Oda, I think of this game. So I think of demons, and I think of him getting shot in the neck with an arrow.
Yeah, American education kind of, whenever they talk about Japan historically, it kind of just starts at like the very late 1800s, because like this is how they got into World War II.
Yeah.
it's just like really, really weird because like Nobunaga's a big major plot thing, but he's got like no involvement in this game, and you think they're setting stuff up for him later on, but then the second game switches over to a different protagonist dealing with other shit, and then it's like, okay.
Meanwhile,
Jubei.
basically,
Jubei.
oh man, I don't know. We're likely not going to get to Onimusha 2 in years, but the voice, I mean, with the voice acting in all, no, not so much the third. The third game is okay. The third game's voice acting is passable. By that I mean for Onimusha standards, completely average. But the first game's voice acting needs to be heard because the English dub needs to be heard because it's absolutely awful. The second game is somehow worse.
Better or worse than like original Resident Evil?
Worse.
Oh no.
Because there was you can justify Resident Evil because it was going for a cheesy 80s horror aesthetic.
It was also 1996.
Yes, it was. This is 2001, which granted, it's not that long from that, but I think there was more. I think there was more emphasis or more effort placed in the Japanese dub than there was the English dub. I say that though I'm Samanosuke's voice actor in Japan, who is also the actor that the model was based off of, sounds a little stilted at times, very reserved, very quiet, which I think was just the direction he was given for the character in question. Samanosuke is very stoic,
Yeah.
but it does lead to almost wooden performance.
Yeah. Okay. So the game is basically Resident Evil with swords. Capcom had a formula at around this time, and by golly, did they do a lot with it.
Yeah, they did. Across different franchises, too. It wasn't just Resident Evil. It was also, I bring up Dino Crisis, too, in my review.
And obviously, we all know that, just viewer-wise, that Devil May Cry 1 was supposed to be Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. A funny thing about Resident Evil 4 and Devil May Cry, though, Devil May Cry took some inspiration from a glitch that arose during Onimusha's development. Juggling, essentially.
That'd be a very different game if that was kept in.
Yeah, but that became a mechanic in the Devil May Cry series, and it arose first as a glitch during the development of this game. So that's a thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that. The only interesting thing that I know about Onimusha's development that it did begin life with the PS1 game, which I did not know until I did the review.
No.
Yeah, I always thought it was just this is going to be a launch window title we're going to have for the PlayStation 2 just to really get a foot in there. But it started as a PlayStation 1 title, and there is footage of it, like not just as a promotional material, but there's just actual footage of it, which makes me think that there is a build of it somewhere out there in the ethereal plane that hopefully gets leaked one day.
So we have another Resident Evil 0 situation, huh? Interesting.
Yes.
Or 1.5.
Or 1.5, I think is probably the more apt comparison.
Now, the graphics, they're nice, but they're not quite up to par with Remake and Resident Evil 0.
It looks like it runs really smoothly.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It does.
But the pre-run...
No matter which version you get, I would say. Original PS2, Xbox, the HD remaster. Onimusha is a very smooth game. Like it looks good.
The pre-rendered backgrounds are very nice looking, but they don't quite have the same sort of high-tech lighting effects that the pre-rendered backgrounds in Zero and Remake did.
No, if we're going to compare it to those, yes. I would say it's more of a step beyond, as odd as this sounds, Code Veronica.
Code Veronica.
Yeah, because like graphically, I want to say it's a step above. Even though I know this game goes back to pre-rendered backgrounds, and that game was fully 3D.
Yeah.
So I think Onimusha 3 would probably be a more apt comparison. But I think it's kind of a nice in between.
I guess I get what you're saying. The backgrounds in Remake and Zero, they looked like photorealistic because of the techniques.
There's no
they used.
comparison.
But here, it's like these are definitely pre-rendered CGI backgrounds, like in the same sort of way the PS1 Resident Evils had pre-rendered CGI backgrounds.
The models here don't blend into the environment as well as Remake or Zero did. I think it's what we're the most different comparison.
Yeah, they do have
between those two.
Same, roughly the same level of quality there.
I don't know why, but the way that it looked like the ground was jumping with the dirt, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought he was just coming underground like Bugs Bunny. Apparently not. I don't know exactly what was happening there.
What did you think was going to happen there, Samanosuke?
Don't get used to using the cool samurai sword, because the regular ass katana, which is the best looking sword in any game it's ever featured in, doesn't last long.
I would argue the Enryu, but
you get the you do get to keep the katana throughout the game, I think.
Yeah, you do.
But like there are 3 elemental weapons that are the focus of the game, and you're going to want to be using those because, well, they're just better.
Challenge run, only katana ever done it? No.
I was gonna say that's probably the only reason why I let you keep it is specifically for a challenge run, because the thing that levels up your weapons and your elemental orb is the souls that you collect, and you don't have to be using a weapon to get souls. That all goes into your gauntlet.
Right.
So if you want to, you can just keep the sword on at all times. It is the weakest sword though of the bunch. I think it's even weaker than the wind sword. No, you can't. It's just a regular katana.
I say it's just a regular ass sword. It doesn't have magic in it.
Sword on. Actually, it looks kind of like Lex Luthor.
uh,
This is a mistranslation. They described themselves as ogres. They meant oni.
Well, Oni can be translated as both ogre and demon. It just
But
depends.
for the purposes of this series, though, it's supposed to be oni.
Okay.
yeah, I mean it's in the
Because
title.
you fight enemies here called ogres. And
okay.
oh,
Well, in that case, then they probably did it because they thought that you wouldn't understand. Us dumb Americans wouldn't understand what you mean. But this game is also unapologetically extremely Japanese, so I don't know why. Like they didn't just, like
I
whatever.
don't get it either.
It's like when you're watching like a Japanese anime type thing, like a high school, and like it's very clearly all Japanese, and then they bother renaming the character to like Jake or
Oh man,
Josh.
look at our friend Rachel, who definitely goes to a Catholic school and not a different Japanese middle school. Wink.
all right. So now that we've been bestowed the Oni Gauntlet, this is where the gameplay basically takes off because now we have our means of absorbing souls. So basically, in Onimusha, besides being Resident Evil in feudal Japan with swordplay, a big part of the game is soul collecting. So every time you kill an enemy, they drop souls, and you suck those up with your Oni Gauntlet, and you use that to power up your weapons and your elemental orb. You can also use it to upgrade herbs into medicines, and your arrows into fire arrows, and your bullets into burst bullets. But what I'm showing off now is kind of one of the main reasons why I'm playing Genma Onimusha as opposed to the original release. Just to quickly get you up to speed on what exactly happened here. So Genma Onimusha was the Xbox re-release a year later after the PS2 original, and with it came a few extra content and some added features to the gameplay. One of them being the charged up attacks, which you might associate more with Onimusha 2 because that game also had it, but it started here first with Genma. And basically, if you're familiar with Mega Man's Charge Buster, it's basically the same thing. You hold the attack button down and you can charge your sword up to 3 different tiers, and the longer you hold it down, the stronger it is. And for common fodder, it's great for crowd control. It's also amazing for boss fights because it helps you conserve elemental powers for the big fuck you attacks. It also introduces the green souls, which you see right there. This is a Genma exclusive as well, and these are special souls that you want to fucking collect as soon as you see them, because you see on the top left of the HUD there, these little green orbs. That's how many green souls you have. When it's at max capacity, at 5, you can trigger short invincibility for a couple of seconds, which not only keeps you invincible, but it also restores your health. So you don't have to rely on yellow orbs or herbs just to get yourself back up to speed. The problem is that enemies can also absorb green souls. The only souls they can absorb, besides the soul eaters, we'll talk about them later.
How often do you get green swords? Not
swords. Green souls drop. Green souls drop pretty frequently throughout the game. It's kind of an issue I have with the pacing of Genma, because green souls drop all the time and you don't want the enemies to grab them, that you're stopping all the time trying to make sure they don't get them in before you do.
Onimusha has smash balls. Great.
Yeah.
Well, then it's like you're encouraged to use them then and not hold on to them, though, because if you have 5 green souls and can't grab anymore, then you're just holding on to them for no reason. So.
You might as well be using that invincibility, which is also, it's a good argument, because you don't want enemies grabbing green souls, because if they do, they become powered up, and some get really nasty if they have a green soul. We can talk about that as we go along, but if you're at 5 souls and there's more of them swimming all over the place, and you're dealing with different formations of enemies at the time, trigger that invincibility. You might as well, because it'll keep you alive longer. Because another thing Genma also changes is enemy formations. You're going to run into way tougher formations earlier in the game than he did in the PS2 game,
like these,
like right here. Actually, because in the original PS2 version, you just fought like 2 regular demons here, like the straw hat.
I'm pretty sure these things are like the game's equivalent to the hunters in the original.
Well, you run into these not too far in the original game, like the second hallway of the temple or the castle. Not here though, is the point. And you run into like 3 of them here. So immediately, like if you played the PS2 original a lot, you're like, oh wait a minute, they aren't supposed to be here. What are they doing here? Although,
by the time you would have fought these in the original, you would have at least the electric sword.
Yeah, at the very least. But see, like Resident Evil as well, you don't have to fight enemies. You are more than welcome to just ignore them, except don't, because
Yeah,
you
'cause
have to.
the red,
Yeah, I was
the red
gonna
orbs
say.
the red orbs give experience. The gold orbs power up your Spartan Rage.
No, well,
Yeah, because
sort of.
the only thing I can think of whenever I see these glowy orbs is just God of War.
Kind of. But like you need to stock up on a certain number of souls to level up your weapon to the point where you can unlock the doors.
Yeah. Which another comparison for Genma, they sort of consolidate the leveling up mechanic
Oh,
for
thank
this game
God.
specifically because in the original Onimusha, you had your levels for your weapons and you also had the level for the elemental orb associated with that weapon. Now, the reason why you wanted to upgrade the elemental orb was that you needed to be at a certain level to unlock certain doors in the game. And without that, you can't proceed until you grind enough souls and get it up there. This was annoying. This was really annoying.
You
because
had
you're
to
not
choose
sure-
between leveling up your sword's like ability as a weapon and your sword's ability to open doors.
Right.
And that was
I think
annoying.
the only other benefit besides upgrading the orb, besides getting it able to unlock doors, was that it also increased your mana capacity for it, so you could do more special attacks with the weapon. Because leveling up the sword, I think, just increases its strength, so it just you do more damage and all that. But Genma consolidates both the weapon level and the orb level into just one bar. The problem with this, though, is that I didn't think they didn't fine tune it enough because now it takes way longer to get your sword up to level 2. So, and later, and Genma throws like level 2 and level 3 locks way earlier than the PS2 game.
Ugh,
So you are going to be grinding more in Genma than you would in the PS2 game.
Gross.
It's like the major problem I have with Genma in terms of the castle's design and pacing.
it's nice of this demon to just sit there and wait for you to break the the vases. and
I
open
always
the
took him as
chest.
very nearsighted. He's not sure if that's a fellow Genma or it's Samanosuke. But then the sword starts glowing. It's like, oh shit. He's
We don't
already
get
at point blank
those.
range.
What the heck?
Yeah, you don't get those. I don't think any enemy here gets a glowing weapon.
Here we go.
Yeah, so this is our first elemental weapon in the game. This is the Ryzen. This is your Thunder Sword. This is the thing that replaces your katana. Just
Thunder.
like 10 minutes after you got it.
Thunder Samanosuke.
It functions effectively like the katana. It's another similarity between Onimusha and Devil May Cry is that you start with a regular ass sword, and then you get a lightning sword very early on that effectively replaces your regular sword. Has the same moveset and everything.
Was there incentive, though, to keep the regular sword in Devil May Cry?
Well, the regular sword effectively functioned as a key item because it would transform into Sparta later on.
Oh, okay.
And Sparta, while not being a sword that you could level up like Alistair, was a powerful weapon, and you basically had to use it for the final boss.
Oh, man. So, you also want to know why Genma certainly does change up item layouts, too, because one of the first items you get before you even begin the game proper is a talisman, which revives you from death once.
Oh boy.
Should you die.
Oh,
You don't get
no.
that until midway in the original game, and they give it to you here immediately.
Oh boy.
Like, get your assholes ready because you're in for one hell of a ride. We'll see you in the next part of Onimusha, though.